Morning. So today we're going to start on our backs in Supta Baddha Konasana. So soles of the feet together, knees wide, which will be a nice hip opener and a nice relaxing way to start to drop into our practice. And if you have blocks, you can place blocks underneath the knees for extra support. You can either have the arms out by the sides with the palms facing up, or you can bring the hands on the body. So maybe the left hand on the heart, right hand on the belly. You could go back and forth a couple of times and see which one feels better today, right now in this moment. Close the eyes, start to take a deep breath in through the nose. And exhale out of the mouth. 2 more like that. Long inhale in through the nose. Exhale, let it go. Last one like this. Big breath in. Exhale out of the mouth. And then breathe in through the nose, nice and slow. This time, keep the lips sealed on the exhale and slowly push the air out of the nose. Keep going with this breath, Ujjayi. Creating that ocean wave-like sound from the back of the throat. What you'll listen to for your practice today, along with any other noises that pop up here and there. That's just part of the whole experience. You can start to blink open the eyes, reach the arms back behind you. Keep the legs the way that they are. Think about reaching out through the fingertips from the waist, so way lower. So you get really long in the sides of the torso, make some space between the ribs, getting as long as you can. Then keep the legs where they are. Just bring the arms forward. You'll lift up the head, the shoulders. It's like you're reaching forward. The belly hugs in a little bit. Keep pressing the soles of the feet together and then start to lift the feet up, the feet and the legs, and you'll be able to reach forward a little bit more. And then maybe the knees come in a little bit closer in toward the body as you reach forward, and then extend the legs out, reach the arms back. So legs are straight, hovering the feet. And then we'll do that again. So it's like a crunch, knees go out wide, reaching forward, and you're curling. Inhale, extend. Exhale, lift up. Inhale, extend. Exhale, lift up. Inhale, extend. Exhale, curl, bring it all in. Keep reaching forward. Inhale, reach forward and back. Get long. This is the last one. Curl in. And then this time, extend the legs, extend the arms, let the feet come down to the mat, let the arms come down to the mat, and separate the feet so that they're more toward the outer edges of the mat. So pretty wide. Clasp opposite elbows overhead, and take the right foot and cross it over the left ankle. So you're coming into a stretch after that core work. And then the upper body, you can pick it all up and lean it over to the left. So now you're making more of a banana shape, and you should feel that on the right side of the body with the right foot on top of the left. Shoulders are still on the mat, so that right shoulder might want to lift, keep it on the mat. See how long you can get. Still staying with your Ujjayi breath. Then bring the upper body back to center. Separate the feet. So right foot goes back to the outer edge of the mat. Clasp opposite elbows the other way so that the other forearm's on top. Left foot crosses over on top of the right. And now you can lift up the upper body, bring it all the way over to the right. It's not that far, but you'll feel a nice stretch in the whole left side of the body this time. breathing here. Lift the upper body, bring it back to center, separate the feet back to the outer edges of the mat. And then this time, walk the feet in. Feet are still wide. Let the knees fall together. So feet, outer edges of the mat, knees are touching. Reach the arms back behind you. Stretch the fingertips way over the back of the mat, and then hug the knees in toward the chest. You can rock side to side a little bit. And then you could take some rocks or just come up to seated. If you take some rocks, grab the backs of the thighs, rock up and down the spine a few times. If it doesn't feel good, just come to seated, pause there. And then once you come to seated, come forward to hands and knees, tabletop. So in tabletop, we'll take some rounds of cat-cow breath. If you want to get into the wrists and the forearms, you could turn the hands out so that the fingertips point toward the sides of the mat. Some of you might be able to bring the fingertips so that they point toward the knees. And if that's the case, then shoulders are stacked over the heels of the hands. And you can always do one hand forward and one hand back and just switch halfway, especially if there's if there's too much pressure there. On the inhale, reach the heart forward, lift the tail. And on the exhale, round the whole spine, chin in toward the chest. Inhale, come forward. Exhale, round. Keep going on your own, several rounds, following your own breath. Trying to get into the whole spine. Last one. Making your way back to a neutral spine. If you turn the hands in a different direction, turn them back around so the fingertips point forward. And then bring the hands way out in front of you. Tuck the toes, lift the hips up and back. Downward facing dog. So first downward facing dog, the legs are tight. You can have a bend in the knees. Keep the feet hip width distance apart at least, or you could even go wider, more toward the outer edges of the mat. That's always a nice way to open up the legs too. So choose one of those options. Maybe test a couple before you commit. Any movement you want. Then from your downward facing dog, glide forward to plank pose on the inhale. Exhale back, downward facing dog, lift the hips up and back. Inhale, glide forward to plank pose. Exhale back, downward facing dog. Inhale, glide forward to plank pose. This time, lower yourself all the way down to the mat. Go slow, take your time. See if you can bring the body down all at the same time. Tops of the feet to the mat. Reach the arms back behind you. So imagine you're holding a beach ball between the hands. There's some energy with the palms squeezing together. Keep pressing down through the feet and then lift the chest. It's like you're trying to stretch the chest forward as someone pulls your arms back. And then slowly lower down just about halfway. Take another inhale here. Then an exhale. Next inhale, come back up. Press down into the feet so the legs firm up and then reach the chest forward. Keep stretching the arms back behind you. Slowly lower. Just until you feel like the body starts to relax a little bit. And we'll come into the third and final rounds. Press into the tops of the feet, lift and spread the chest. Keep reaching the arms back. Look down the bridge of the nose. And exhale, release. Hands come to the mat by the lower ribs. Come up to hands and knees. Take child's pose. Bring the big toes together, knees apart. Sit the hips back. Keep the arms out in front of you and let the forehead come down to the mat. See how far forward you can crawl the fingertips as you pull the hips back toward the heels. Feeling a nice opening across the upper body and the arms. And then lift the head, gaze forward, come back to downward facing dog. Tuck the toes, lift the hips up and back. Make sure you're pressing down through the index finger, thumb side of the hand. And then lift the right leg up and back. You can open up the hip and bend the knee if that's something that works in your body. You can also skip it. Left side of the body is like downward facing dog. So pull that left hip back and then keep opening up the right hip. Try to keep the chest level. And then step the right foot through all the way up between the hands, coming into a runner's lunge. You can come up onto the fingertips or use blocks underneath the hands. Keep reaching the chest forward as you stretch that left heel back. Then set the back knee down. Left hand stays down on the mat right underneath the shoulder. Right arm reaches up. So you're coming into a twist. Left shoulder rolls down the back, right knee still pointing forward along with those toes. If they're opening out to the right, just move the foot all the way over, move the foot more over to the right so you have enough space. So back toes are tucked. Lift the back leg. You're still in your twist. Turn the toes on both feet over to the right. So you're coming onto the outer edges of the feet. So different opening in the hip. And then come back to facing forward. So toes point forward, bring that right hand down, step back to downward facing dog. Left leg reaches up and back. Maybe open up the hip, bend the knee. Just be mindful of that right hip. It's not going forward. You're still pulling it back, and then you're trying to stay even in the upper body. And the right heel still working down toward the mat. Left foot steps forward all the way up between the hands. Runner's lunge to start. You can lift the chest by coming up onto the fingertips. Set the back knee down onto the mat. Right hand underneath the right shoulder. Left arm reaches up. Find that twist. So you're opening up the left side chest, shoulder, that whole area as you reach up and maybe leaning back a little bit with the left side chest and the left arm. Right shoulder down the back. And then with those back toes tucked, lift the back knee. Toes on both feet go to the left. So come on toward the outer edges of the feet. And then you can look down at the mat, bring the toes back forward. Left hand comes down to the mat, step back to downward facing dog, Adho Mukha Svanasana. Bending the knees, look forward to the top of the mat, step, walk, bring the feet up between the hands. Forward fold, top of the mat. Inhaling up halfway. Exhale, fold. Let's do two more like that. Inhale up halfway, Ardha Uttanasana. Exhale, fold back down. Inhale up halfway. Think cobra with the upper body. Then exhale, fold back down. This time we're coming all the way up. Circle the arms all the way up to standing. Bring the hands together at the very top. Reach up, root down through the feet and the legs. And on the exhale, bring the hands down in front of the heart. And we'll go through some Surya A's. Inhale, circle the arms all the way up. Exhale, forward fold all the way down. Inhaling up halfway. Exhale, hands down to the mat, bend the knees, step back to plank pose. Lower down halfway chaturanga. Your choice, cobra or up dog, whichever one would feel better. Exhale back, downward facing dog. Bend the knees, look forward, step, hop, bring the feet up between the hands, nice and light. Inhale up halfway. Exhale, fold. Inhale, circle the arms all the way up. Bring the hands together at the top, down in front of the heart. Inhale, reach up. Exhale, forward fold. Inhaling up halfway. Exhale, hands down to the mat. Step back to plank pose. Lower down halfway to chaturanga. If you're taking up dog in chaturanga, you come to the tops of the feet, then you lift the chest up. Exhale back, downward facing dog. Bend the knees, look forward to the top of the mat, bring the feet forward. Inhale up halfway. Exhale, fold. Inhale all the way back up to standing. Bring the hands together overhead and in front of the heart. One more. Inhale, reach up. Exhale, fold. Inhale up halfway. Exhale, hands down to the mat. Step back to plank. Lower down halfway chaturanga. Tops of the feet, then up dog. Exhale back, downward facing dog. So we make that transition to the tops of the feet in chaturanga because then you'll get more height and space in your up dog. Right leg lifts up and back. Open up the hip, bend the knee, keep pulling that left hip back and that left heel down. Level off the chest. Then step the right foot through all the way up between the hands, back to that runner's lunge. Feet hip width distance apart, come up onto the fingertips and get lighter into the hands. You're looking forward. Then rise up to crescent pose. Take your time. So you're digging down into that front heel and stretching that left heel back behind you. Lift the lower belly. Stay looking forward. Left heel comes down to the mat, warrior two. Right foot needs to heel toe in a little bit. You can have heel to heel or heel to arch alignment for your warrior two. Hands in line with the shoulders. Sometimes you need to check that back arm. And use that left hip to push the right hip forward. So back hip pushes the front hip forward. Keep the head right over the hips. Flip the front palm up, reverse warrior. Windmill the hands down to the mat. Step back to plank pose. Vinyasa if you want one, back to downward facing dog. So these vinyasas are optional. You've done plenty of Surya A's. Take them or leave them. I'll let you know when they're there and then you decide. Left leg lifts up and back, open up the hip, bend the knee. Step that left foot all the way through, up between the hands, feet hip width. Come up onto the fingertips first, so that you can ground down into the legs and get a little lighter in the upper body. Then rise all the way up, crescent pose. Open it up, warrior two. Right heel spins down, left foot comes in a little bit. Spread the arms out wide, maybe check the backhand, keeping it in line with the shoulder. Head stays over the hips. Use that back hip, the right hip, to push that left hip forward. It should make that left thigh a little longer and help you get the left hip off the left thigh. Then leave the legs as they are. Flip that front palm, reverse warrior, light with the backhand. Windmill the hands down to the mat. Step back to plank pose, down dog or vinyasa. Couple breaths in downward facing dog. Then bend the knees, look forward to the top of the mat, step, walk, hop, bring the feet up between the hands. Inhale up halfway. Exhale, fold. Chair pose on the inhale, bend the knees, reach the arms up. Put the weight into the heels, lift the chest a little bit higher, press yourself all the way up to standing, hands come together, down in front of the heart. Inhale, sit back, chair pose, Ukatasana. This time, look down at the feet, make sure you can see all 10 toes, pull the hips back and the knees back if you can't. Shift the weight over to the right foot, left ankle on top of right thigh, standing pigeon. So it's like you're sitting in a chair. Hands can come together right in front of the heart. So you can just focus on the legs and get that nice hip opening. Left toes are pointing forward. So what happens here is that right hip wants to go way out to the right. You have to work to try to square those hips, getting control of that outer right hip so you can hug it in a little bit. And then as you sit back, you keep reaching the chest forward. So you're just like chair in the whole right side of the body. Then start to press into the standing leg, the right leg, to hug that left knee in toward the chest and step it back to crescent pose. Go slow, land on the ball of the back foot, out to the left a little bit, reach the arms all the way up. So you want a wide enough stance for stability. Left heel comes down flat, warrior two, heel toe that right foot towards center a little bit, spread the arms out wide. Then flip the front palm, reverse warrior, and let's straighten the front leg as you reach up and back. So reverse triangle, front leg is straight, you're reaching up and back. Come back to reverse warrior, just send that right knee straight forward. You're still reaching up and back. Windmill the hands down to the mat. Step back to plank pose, vinyasa, or straight to downward facing dog. Bend the knees, look forward, feet forward. Inhale up halfway. Exhale, fold over the legs. Chair pose on the inhale. All the way up to standing on the exhale, hands come together, down in front of the heart. Other side, bend the knees, sit back, chair pose. Look down at the feet, start to shift the weight over to the left foot, lift the right heel, and then cross the right ankle on top of the left thigh, coming into your standing pigeon. Hands can come together right in front of the heart. Focus on that hip opening and the control of the outer left hip, trying not to let it swing out to the side. Keep reaching the chest forward. Right toes are pointing forward, so that foot is flexed because the knee's bent. You'll start to press down into the standing leg a little bit more to lift the chest so that you can hug the knee in toward the chest. Stretch that right leg back behind you. You're coming into crescent pose. Right foot out to the right a little bit. Reach the arms forward all the way up. Really nice. Open it up, warrior two. Flip the front palm, reverse warrior. And then straighten the front leg. Keep reaching up and back. That should feel pretty good to get that front leg straight. Peel the left hip away from the thigh. Keep that space as you come back to reverse warrior, sending that left knee straight forward. Windmill the hands down to the mat, back to plank pose with or without a vinyasa, downward facing dog. Few breaths in downward facing dog, recover here. Bend the knees, look forward to the top of the mat, step, hop, bring the feet forward. Inhale up halfway. Exhale, fold. Chair pose on the inhale. All the way up to standing, hands come together, down in front of the heart. Little different this time. Inhale, sit back, chair pose. Look down at the feet. Standing pigeon, shift the weight over to the right foot, cross the left ankle on top of the right thigh. Hands can come together in front of the heart. Keep hugging that outer right hip in, reaching the chest forward, sitting back. We're taking this to tree pose. Grab that left foot, bring it up as high as you can inside of the right thigh, or it can go below the knee. So, but play with this, see if that's happening. That outer right hip has to hug in, lower belly lifts, hands can come together like prayer, or you can reach the arms up. The bottom tips of the shoulder blades are lifting and spreading the chest. So as you reach up, stay tall in the standing leg, keep squeezing that outer right hip in. And then point the left knee straight forward like you're gonna take a big step up, but you're taking a big step back, crescent pose. Land the ball of the left foot out to the left, reaching the arms up. Open it up, warrior two. Flip the front palm, reverse warrior, and straighten the front leg. Keep reaching up and back. Let's take triangle. Spread the arms out wide, coming back up to standing. You can heel toe the back foot in a little bit if you want to shorten the stance. Reach forward, shift the hips back, right arm down, left arm up. Press down into the big toe mound of that right foot and the inner heel of the left. Reverse warrior, bend the front knee, reach up and back. Windmill the hands down to the mat. Come onto the ball of the back foot. Move this right foot out to the right. Left hand down, right arm up. So coming back into that twisted lunge that we played with at the beginning. And then same thing here. Turn the toes out to the right. Come back to center, toes pointing forward, right hand comes down, left foot steps forward to the top of the mat. Big step forward. Back in Ukatasana, forward fold. Let the head and the neck go. Inhale up halfway. Exhale, fold. Bend the knees, come into chair pose. Look down at the feet, make sure the knees are back. Start to shift the weight over to the left foot, right ankle, left thigh. Hands come together right in front of the heart. So focus on the hip opening here, but then also that outer left hip. So you need the outer left hip to hug in here in your standing pigeon and definitely in your tree pose. So keep control of that the whole time. Then grab the foot with the right hand, come up to standing, bring that right foot as high as you can get it to the inner thigh, more toward the back of the thigh than the front of the thigh, or stay below the knee if it's not happening. Bring that gaze forward so you keep your balance. Hands together in front of the heart or reach the arms up. Use the bottom tips of the shoulder blades to push the chest forward and up. So you have lots of space there. Rooting down through the standing leg. Right knee points forward like you're going to take a big step forward, but take it back to crescent pose. Land on the ball of the right foot, reaching the arms up. Open it up, warrior two. Flip the front palm, reverse warrior. Straighten the front leg. Come up to standing, setting yourself up for triangle. Take your time, shorten the stance if you want to. Reach forward, left arm down, right arm up. Reverse warrior, bend that front knee, reach the left arm up and back. Windmill the hands down to the mat, coming onto the ball of the back foot. Separate the feet so they're hip width distance. Right hand underneath the right shoulder, also in front of the right toes. Left arm reaches up, find that twist. Right shoulder down the back so it's not going forward. And then turn the toes out to the left. Look down at the mat, turn the toes forward, left hand down, right foot steps forward, back to your forward fold. Inhale up halfway. Exhale, fold. Chair pose, bend the knees, reach the arms up. Press yourself up to standing, hands come together, down in front of the heart. So we'll roll through that again. Bend the knees, sit back, Ukatasana chair pose. Look down at the feet, shift the weight over to the right foot, left ankle, right thigh. Hands together in front of the heart. You could also fold forward a little bit more if you want a deeper hip opening, now that we've been in this a few times. But know that the energy is going up and not down. So hug that outer right hip in, grab the left foot. Let's bring it up to tree pose. Make sure you're looking forward instead of down. That'll help bring the pose up and help you with your balance. Maybe. Hands come together, or you can reach up, coming into your Vrikshasana that way, growing the tree. Left knee points forward. Make sure there's energy in that left foot. Step back to crescent pose. Take your time in the transition. Use all that strength you're building to get there instead of momentum. Open it up, warrior two. Flip the front palm, reverse warrior. Straighten the front leg. Stand tall, arms out wide to the side, Trikonasana triangle pose. Back to reverse warrior, bend the front knee, reach up and back. Hands come down to the mat, coming into a lunge. Come onto the ball of the back foot. Separate the feet so the right foot comes out to the right, left hand down, right arm up for that twist. Turn the toes out to the right. You could play with side plank if you want to, bringing that right foot back and stacking it on top of the left, or you can just hover it. Skip it if it's not feeling good today. And then to come back out, hug the right knee in toward the chest, step that right foot forward. We all have the toes pointing forward, right hand down, left foot steps forward, forward fold. Inhaling up halfway. Exhale, fold down. Bend the knees, chair pose. Other side, look down to the feet, get light in the right foot, right ankle, left thigh, hands come together in front of the heart, hug that outer left hip in. If you did it on the first side and you want to lower the chest a little bit more, you can do that. Maybe the elbows rest on that shin, the right knee and the left ankle. And then lift the chest if you went lower. Tree pose, grab the right foot, bring it up high to the inner thigh. Look forward, reaching the arms up. Right knee points straight forward, step back, crescent pose, no rush. Open it up, warrior two. Flip the front palm, reverse warrior. Straighten the front leg, keep reaching up and back, reverse triangle. Come up to standing, take it into triangle. Back to reverse warrior. Bend the front leg, reach up and back. Hands down to the mat, come onto the ball of the back foot. Find your runner's lunge, move that left foot out to the left. Right hand underneath the right shoulder in front of the right toes. Left arm reaches up, feel that twist. And then maybe the toes go out to the left and you stay here. Or maybe you play with side plank. Stretch that left leg back, you can hover it or stack the feet. If you took side plank, left knee comes in toward the chest, step it all the way forward back to your lunge. Everyone's toes pointing forward, left hand down to the mat, right foot steps forward, forward fold. Inhale up halfway. Exhale, hands down to the mat, step back to plank pose, vinyasa or straight to downward facing dog. Shorten your stance a little bit in downward facing dog. So walk the feet forward an inch or two. Make sure the feet are hip width distance apart, or you could go a little bit wider. And then from here, press down into the feet and the right hand and come up onto the fingertips of the left hand. So you're tenting the left hand. And then maybe you play with reaching the left arm alongside the body. So maybe you hover all the fingertips except for one or two. Maybe you reach that left arm back behind you. Left hand comes back down to the mat. We'll play with the other side. Press down into the left hand, come up onto the fingertips of the right, reach the right arm back behind you. Right hand comes back down to the mat. Lift the left leg up and back. Come up onto the right fingertips. Maybe the right arm reaches back behind you with the left leg lifted. Right hand comes back down to the mat. Left foot comes down to the mat. Right leg reaches up and back. And the heel's just a hip height, so it's not as high as you can get the leg. Come up onto the left fingertips. Find those stabilizing muscles. Maybe you play with reaching the left arm back. Left hand comes back to the mat, right foot comes down to the mat. Bend the knees, look forward, feet forward. Forward fold, top of the mat. Inhale up halfway. Exhale, fold. Ukatasana chair pose. Bend the knees, reach the arms up. Bring the hands together right in front of the heart. Look down at the feet. Shift the weight over to the right foot. Left ankle, right thigh, standing pigeon. Tree pose. Grab that left foot. Bring it up high if you're going above the knee. Look forward. Reach the arms up. So if you have the foot and the thigh together, they're pressing into one another. That kind of helps create some stability. Then left knee points straight forward, like you're going to take a big step, crescent pose. Take your time, land smooth on the back, the ball of the back foot, reach up, open it up, warrior two. Reverse warrior. Straighten the front leg, keep reaching back. Come up to standing triangle. Reverse warrior. Hands to the mat. Come onto the ball of the back foot. Make sure you widen your stance a little bit with your lunge so you're back to hip width distance. Left hand underneath the left shoulder, right arm reaches up. Toes to the right. Stay here or play with side plank Vanyasa. Right knee to the chest. Step that right foot forward. Everyone bring the toes forward. Right hand comes down. Left foot steps forward. Forward fold. Inhale up halfway. Exhale, fold back to Ukatasana chair pose. Reach the arms up, sit the hips back, bring the hands together right in front of the heart. Looking down at the feet, shift the weight over to the left foot, right ankle, left thigh. Tree pose when you're ready. Take your time, look forward. Right knee starts to point forward. Take it back to crescent pose. Open it up, warrior two. Flip the front palm, reverse warrior. Reverse triangle. Up to standing, triangle. Reverse warrior. Bring the hands down to the mat. Come on to the ball of the back foot. Heel toe the left foot out to the left. Right hand down, left arm up. Turn the toes out to the left. Stay here or side plank. Hug the left knee in toward the chest. Step that left foot all the way through to the top of the mat. Everyone's toes pointing forward, left hand down, right foot forward. Done with those. Forward fold. Bring the feet a little wider, so maybe closer to the outer edges of the mat. And then you can either clasp opposite elbows in front of you or interlace the fingers behind the back. Just depends on how open the shoulders are. Let the head and the neck go, but keep moving the shoulders toward the hips. And then switch whatever you have. So switch the clasp of the elbows or weave the fingers one finger over. Bring the hands back down to the mat. Heel toe the feet back to hip width distance. Inhaling up halfway. Exhale, fold. Circle the arms all the way up to standing. Bring the hands together overhead and down in front of the heart. Surya A, back to downward facing dog. Inhale, reach up. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale up halfway. Exhale, hands to the mat, back to plank pose. Last vinyasa if you want it. Skip it and go to downward facing dog if you don't. From downward facing dog, lift the right leg up and back. Open up the hip, bend the knee. Single pigeon. So level off the hips. Bring that right knee, the right shin forward. Set it down and stretch the left leg back. If single pigeon isn't working for you, come onto your back and do thread the needle, crossing the right ankle on top of the left thigh. That's always a good alternative to single pigeon, but we have been playing a lot with pigeon, so single pigeon might feel good for most of us. So you want to bring that right shin forward a little bit. If the foot's way far back, you don't have to worry about flexing the foot. If it's pretty far forward or on its way, then you do want a flexed foot. Square the hips, so squeezing the hips together helps with that. And then you can keep the hands down. You could come down onto the forearms, or you can lie all the way forward. Blocks are a great thing to use here. They can go underneath the right hip if the hip's really lifted. I like to put it underneath the chest and then just rest my head on my hands, but you could also do the forehead here too. And if you're feeling any tenderness or discomfort in the right knee, that's a cue to come onto your back and do thread the needle. Single pigeon doesn't work in all of our bodies, so it's definitely a pose to skip if there's anything going on in that right knee. It won't help. Last couple breaths here. And if you're down pretty low, come back up onto the hands. Tuck the back toes, come back to downward facing dog. And you can pedal out the feet here to get the circulation back into that right hip, right leg. If you're on your back doing thread the needle, just rest with the feet on the mat and you'll switch sides when we switch sides. Left leg goes up and back if you're in your downward facing dog. Open up the hip, bend the knee. Then level off the hip, single pigeon. Left shin comes forward. Different hip, so probably going to be in a different position. Stretch that right foot back and point the right big toe straight back so that the outer right ankle doesn't roll out too much. And then you can stay here with the chest lifted if that feels good, or you can start to come down onto the forearms, use props if you have them, or really anything that's around you, pillows. Get creative. And then rest into the pose. You're here for a while, so don't come 100% all the way in. Come most of the way and then just let the breath pull you in as far as you need to go. Take a deeper inhale in through the nose. Let that go. Start to bring the chest back up if you're in single pigeon. Tuck the back toes back to downward facing dog. Pedal out the feet, lifting one heel, descending the other. If you're in thread the needle, resting with the feet on the mat. Then if you're in downward facing dog, bring the knees down to the mat, feet over to one side, come to seated on the mat. So we'll all come to seated. So if you're on your back, come up, feet are on the mat. Bring the hands down to the mat. So you can turn the hands so that the fingertips point to the sides. Feet are hip width distance apart. And we're coming into reverse tabletop. So as you press down into the feet, lift the hips. And you're just making a table with the front side of the body, pressing down into the feet, stretching the shoulders away from the knees, getting long, lengthening the tailbone between the knees. And then set the hips down to the mat, lay down onto your back, keep the feet where they are so the soles of the feet stay on the mat. And then you can start to walk the feet in if there's more space there for the heels to come underneath the knees. Press down into the feet, lift the hips, bridge pose. You can interlace the fingers underneath you or grab the outer edges of the mat, but we're all pressing down into the outer upper arm to lift and spread the chest. Dig into the inner edges of the feet as well as the outer edges. Lengthen the thigh bones away from you and see if you can get the hips higher than the belly. And then slowly start to release. Hips come back down to the mat. Try not to counter pose. We're going to do one more back bend. See if we can get that one a little deeper. When you're ready, dig into the feet, lift the hips up. Take your arm variation. Keep the chin away from the chest and then stay looking up. That helps. And where your focal point should be for this pose. One more inhale, see if there's any more left. And on the exhale, slowly release, bring the hips back down. Hips are going to move over to the right, knees to the left, coming into an easy spinal twist. Right arm reaches outside of the shoulder. And if the neck feels okay, you can look over the right arm. Come back to center on your back and we'll start to switch sides. Shimmy the hips over to the left, bring the knees to the right. Left arm reaches outside of the shoulder. Maybe the gaze falls over the left arm. Start to make your way onto your back, soles of the feet on the mat so you can get the hips right underneath you. And then take happy baby. Reach through the inner edges of the legs, grab the outer edges of the feet. Maybe you rock side to side. Keep those hips connected to the mat. And you can stretch one leg, keep one bent. Some of you might be open enough to stretch both legs. Do whichever one feels good. Back to a traditional happy baby. If you changed it, hug the knees in toward the chest. Bring the nose up toward the knees, close the eyes, take a deep inhale in through the nose. Hold it at the top, sip in more air through the mouth, and exhale, Shavasana. Extend the legs out in front of you. Let the feet go a little wider. Maybe they go on the outer edges of the mat or even wider than that. Get the shoulder blades underneath you. So you might need to lift the chest to do that. Arms by the sides, away from the body, palms facing up. So you feel like the chest is rolling open. And then with the eyes closed, start to soften the face. So smooth out the forehead, space between the brows, and let the lower jaw become heavy, almost like it's going to pull the lips open. Start to wiggle the fingers and the toes. Stretch the arms overhead, getting really long on your mat. Walk the feet in, bending the legs. And roll over onto your right side. Cradle the head and the arm. Keep the eyes closed. Take a deeper breath in through the nose. Exhale out of the mouth. And use the hands to bring yourself up to an easy cross-legged seat. Sitting up tall, eyes still closed. Coming into a meditation seat. Noticing how still and quiet you are. How peaceful things are compared to when you first started your practice. Hang on to this. Bring the hands together. Bow the head to honor and acknowledge your heart and your spirit, as well as everyone around you. Bring the head back up. Blink open the eyes. Namaste. Thanks for joining. Last class of the year. Doing it together. Hope you all have a happy new year, and I'll see you next year.